Hey, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's topic is container versus virtual machine. So these are the two popular technologies I will say to host our application. So previously, like when containerization was not so popular, all the hostings were done on virtual machines. So they will use a hardware. Over that hardware, they will use some hypervisor, and on the top of the hypervisor, they will build an OS, and the OS will host the application. So this was the usual practice before containerization came into the picture. But nowadays, as container technology is that much advanced, I will say that most of the application hostings you will see on internet are container based only. So let's go to our first presentation, which is how actually virtual machine setup works. So I have taken very basic example because if you go on internet, you will see there are more advanced illustrations of how virtual machine works. But I relate it to something which we have already done, like whenever we used to initially when we used to install Linux into our Windows PC. So what we used to do is we install a VMware workstation, and using that VMware workstation, it provide us to create any operating systems. Like we can create Linux, Debian, Ubuntu. These are the flavors of Linux only. So we can create any as per our work. So we can create that. Like suppose if you want to create a firewall also, you can use that VMware workstation. So basically, what VMware workstation give you, it allow you to create an operating system on the top of your base operating system. So here is an example. So in this case, if we break it down to the basics, what hardware will be there? Like suppose you have a Windows machine, you will have some Intel hardware. So on the top of that hardware, what you do is you install a VMware workstation, and VM workstation in background, what it does it installed a hypervisor into your system, and this hypervisor when when then will give you the provision to launch any operating systems. But yeah, your hardware should be capable of hosting those. Like if your hardware is not having that amount of memory or size storage available, then it will be difficult. But if suppose everything is good, then you can host like one Debian machine and another Ubuntu machine. And let's go to basic of hosting. I want to host a basic Apache web application for my lab work, or in some organization also you can relate these things. So while using virtual machine setup, what we did is we purchased a hardware. Over that hardware, we run some VMware hypervisor. Using that hypervisor, we created an OS, and in that OS, we at last hosted our application or web services, like in my case, Apache 2. But when it comes to container setup, it will be like you will have some hardware. If you go to my playlist on Docker, you will see that I have installed WSL into my Windows PC. In that WSL, I am using Docker to create container images, I will say. And once you can do it in both way. If you don't want to go via WSL Linux, you can download Docker desktop from Docker Hub's website, and it will allow you to directly create Docker containers in your Windows desktops as well. So how it works is, on the top of hardware, Docker will install its engine. So Docker engine will be installed, and this Docker engine will then run these required binaries and libraries required to run an application. So in this case, suppose if I want to build a Apache 2 application, so what I need to do is I need to go to this hub.docker.com, and I will search for Apache 2. So you can see there are multiple Docker images available for Apache 2. For now, let's stick to the basic, and I will use Ubuntu Apache 2. So if I see here, it says we can copy this command and this image will be downloaded to our machine. So I already did this. I did docker pull ubuntu slash apache 2, and you can see Docker image is downloaded, and the size of this image is 183 MB. So you can consider how less size of this image is. So it's a very lightweight image, we can say, and still it serves the purpose of running a Apache 2 web server. Now let's go to the another approach of VMware or virtual machine. So this is a virtual machine setup, and if I want to run a Apache 2 on, let's say, Debian machine, which is a very lighter weight compared to Ubuntu. And in container, we have run our Apache 2 on Ubuntu, but yeah, let's consider in virtual machine, we run on a lot lighter image, Debian. So I went to the Debian website, and here minimum hardware requirement of RAM should be 512 MB and hard drive should be 2 gigabits. So you can clearly see the difference in terms of RAM and hard drive capacity. So the complete image which Docker is providing us is of 183 MB, and here RAM is 512 MB and hard drive needed is 2 gig, and it's a very minimum requirements, right? If you want a full-fledged Debian system, then it can go up to 2 gigabytes and 10 gigabytes of hard drive. So this is the first major difference I will say. Docker images are highly lightweight, and the normal VMware we use or virtual machines we use, they are the actual operating systems. But in container, you get only the required binaries and library to run that application. Now, suppose this, we compared the first about memory and size. Now, the another major benefit using Docker containers is, suppose you build one application inside your local machine. So what you will do is you will build everything using Docker, and then you will commit whatever the changes you have done into the base image. Suppose I downloaded this image from the Docker Ubuntu/Apache 2, but few things in this image I don't want, or I want to improvise this image as per my requirement. So I can do whatever changes I need to do here, and then suppose I want to install a SSH server into it, I can do that, and then I will commit this image. So committing this image means I will have a copy of this image available inside my machine, and that copy of image, whenever we run that image, it will point to the latest save configuration. So this really helps. Like, I'm a developer, I downloaded a Docker image from the Docker website, I did whatever modification I want to do in that image, and I made it customized image which serve my purpose. And suppose I want to run this application which I built into my local machine into the cloud. So what I can do is I can just upload this image which I built into some public repository or private repository, and I can download that image directly from that repository to the cloud and run there. As the required dependencies, libraries and binaries are already available into that bundle, you don't need to worry. Whenever you will run it in cloud into some different infrastructure, it will run and behave the same way it had worked in your local machine. So this is also a very, I will say, highly advantage of Docker containerization. That's why it's popular. And for, if we compare this with the VMware or virtual machines, they are big in size, and you want to install complete operating systems. Like if you installed an Ubuntu machine, most of the features of that machine you don't require for your application, but still you will have to deploy it to serve a purpose. So this is a wastage of memory, cost, and any other things. So that's why containerization is more popular these days. That's all for this comparison between Docker container and virtual machine today. Thank you for watching. Please hit like and subscribe if you like this video. And thank you again. Have a nice day. Bye.